Okay, as you can see, the House is just starting up. We are going to listen to a couple Conservative MPs who spoke this morning or this afternoon as they were walking to Parliament. They got caught by some reporters, so I want to hear what they have to say about this whole trader situation. Let's hear what they have to say.
Chris D'Entremont's decision to go to the Liberals.
Well, last spring, Canadians elected a minority parliament and put a check and balance on the power of an untested prime minister. Mr. Carney is trying to manipulate that result and get a majority Canadians did not elect.
I think it's shameful what he did. I could never imagine doing something like that, to misrepresent yourself to voters, to lie to your volunteers. It's only been 6 months since the election. The leaders are the same of the parties. The public, the policies haven't changed. He campaigned against budgets that look just like this, Liberal policies that look just like this. And I sat with him on Fisheries Committee, you know.
All the questions should be for Mr. D'Entremont this morning. I would encourage you to look at his own words about his Prime Minister. We've been very consistent about what we've said our expectations were for this budget. And Mr. D'Entremont, let me just share with you his own words. He said that, quote, "We warned that the Liberals' out-of-control spending and massive deficits were irresponsible, but of course they did not listen. Now, after 6 months under a new Prime Minister who promised financial discipline, Canadians are still waiting. He said that he would be judged by the cost of the grocery store. Well, Canadians are judging him, and they're not impressed." So that's what Mr. D'Entremont had to say about Prime Minister Carney. And so here we have, as a member of Parliament, and Mr. D'Entremont, who said one thing and is now doing another, who said one thing to his constituents, that he would fight for an affordable budget to provide affordability for Canadians, and that's certainly not what we've seen.
Yeah, just despicable. The House still hasn't started up yet. They're already 4 minutes late. They're usually pretty on time on Wednesdays. I mean, they don't even start till 2. Okay. Let's hear what Carney had to say about this. Carney got asked this by reporters earlier.
Bill, this is the country to invest in. Thank you.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry, CBC. Yeah. I know you're willing to talk to anyone, but I'm wondering, are you or any members of your team actually in conversations with other members of the opposition to try to get them to join?
I'm in conversation with you right now, so I can't be talking to anyone else. But the Parliament works well. I'm new to Parliament. My view is always I will talk to anyone. It's part of our job is to talk to each other. You get ideas. You learn a lot when you're listening more than you're talking. So we seek out different opinions. I do that. I do that with the premiers. I do with other members of Parliament. We'll continue to do that.
Can I ask you then, I guess, on conversations? What's the current state of, I guess, your communication with the U.S. president in terms of reviving trade talks?
Okay, that's all he had to say about that. He is 100% talking to other Conservative MPs. I don't know who. I can speculate on a few. It's just ridiculous.
There's my tab on the back, is it showing?
Today is going to be a
Statements
spicy
by
day,
members.
though.
Déclaration de député. L'honorable député de
We
Rosemont,
all
la
know
petite
that the
patrie.
Liberals are going to use this in
The
question
Honourable
period.
Member for Rosemont, la petite patrie. Mr. Speaker, we got some good news yesterday. No, nothing to do with the budget. Zoran Mamdani was elected mayor of New York. But back home, in Rosemont, la petite patrie, there's some good news there too. As part of Black History Month, Miss Ninette Piu, director of the Centre Narrivé, was recognized for her hard work and dedication. For over 40 years, Miss Piu has been working at this Centre Narrivé, which is a place of learning, integration, and recreation. The Centre runs all kinds of workshops for immigrant women. The Centre organizes the Haitian Book Festival, and the Centre created the Creole and Haitian Heritage Institute. Ms. Piu is passionate about social justice and harmonious and respectful communities. And she is a true pillar in Petite Patrie. Congratulations, Ninette, and thank you for working tirelessly to make a better world for everyone, where everyone can live in dignity.
Member for Winnipeg West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Measles was eliminated in Canada in 1998, and we maintained that achievement for more than 25 years. Today, however, we are seeing a resurgence of this disease, driven mostly by misinformation and growing vaccine hesitancy. In 2025 alone, Canada has reported more cases than in the last 25 years combined, with over 5,000 cases, 169 hospitalizations, and tragically, 3 infants losing their lives. Measles is a serious disease that could lead to pneumonia, encephalitis, hearing loss, developmental delay, and death. The positive news is that this is entirely preventable. The measles vaccine is safe, effective, and life-saving. We all have a role to play in protecting our communities. I encourage all Canadians to ensure that they and their children are fully immunized. By working together, sharing accurate information, and supporting public health initiatives, we can protect our most vulnerable citizens and restore Canada's status as a measles-free nation. Thank you.
Bravo.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
This year, the Silver Cross mother is Nancy Payne from Lansdowne, Ontario. On Remembrance Day, Nancy will lay a wreath at the National War Memorial in our nation's capital, representing the mothers and families who have lost a daughter or son in military service to Canada. Her son, Corporal Randy Payne, served proudly with the Canadian military as a police officer. He was killed in action on April 22, 2006, while serving in close protection in Afghanistan. Through Nancy, we honor not only Randy's sacrifice, but the legacy of all who have served and fallen in defense of Canada. The fallen and their families have given so much to our country, and we are forever in their debt. As the Silver Cross mother, Nancy Payne carries the weight of the personal loss of her son, Randy, and the grief of so many Canadian families who have lost their loved ones in service of freedom and Canadian values. We can't forget that. We must never forget them. We will remember them.
The honourable member for Brampton South.
Canadians from coast to coast join Sikh communities in commemorating the 556th anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. It is birth anniversary, the first Guru and founder of Sikhism. Mr. Speaker, today we reflect on Guru Nanak Dev Ji's timeless teachings, Naam Japna, meditation, Kirt Karni, honest living, and One Ke Chakna, sharing with others.
I don't understand what she's
These
saying.
principles are not only central to Sikhism, but they also resonate strongly with Canadian values. Guru Nanak Dev Ji defended equality and justice, advocating for the rights of women, a message that continues to reflect the values and uphold in Canada today. Mr. Speaker, these teachings are lived every day by Sikh Canadians whose contribution continue to enrich our country. Mr. Speaker, may the teachings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji continue to inspire us all. Happy Gurpurab to everyone who's celebrating.
I got like 3 minutes.
The honourable member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, as we approach Remembrance Day, I rise to pay tribute to retired Master Warrant Officer Earl Eastman, who sadly passed away this year. Earl served 33 years in the Canadian Armed Forces and completed 3 tours on 3 continents. After returning from Afghanistan, he dedicated himself to serving veterans as president of the Canadian Army Veterans Motorcycle Unit, 2nd VP of the Legion's New Brunswick Command, and Knight Commander of the Order of St. George. In 2022, Earl's public service continued when he was elected to St. Stephen's Municipal Council. Earl was a dedicated member of our community, but most of all, was a loving husband to Charlie, father, grandfather, and my friend. May Earl Eastman rest in peace.
L'honorable député de Laval-les-Îles.
The Honourable Member for Laval-les-Îles. Mr. Speaker, I am taking this opportunity to recognize the extraordinary work of Mrs. Linda Delisle in my constituency of Laval-les-Îles. Life is like a river, with many sailors and leaders, but there are also plenty of people who are adrift. Sometimes we come across individuals with pure hearts who are like rafts that we can cling to. Mrs. Delisle is one such person. Since 2015, under her leadership, Manoir du Ruisseau has become a warm and welcoming place to live, where every resident is treated with respect, empathy, and kindness. She has fostered a culture of compassion and dignity, ensuring that seniors receive the care that they deserve. With her compassionate leadership style, she has put together a dedicated team that makes Manoir du Ruisseau an example of excellence. The Manoir team doesn't just view caring for seniors as an administrative task. For them, it's an honor to serve our nation's builders. Mrs. Delisle, on behalf of all Canadians, all Quebecers, and all residents at Laval, thank you. And thank you so much to the whole team.
Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lifelong Conservative and friend, Vic Brandel was born in 1933 in Jeffrey, Alberta, and passed away peacefully at the age of 91 in Vernon, BC. Vic quit school during the Depression to work on the neighbor's farm until he went to work in Edmonton in 1950. By the age of 19, Vic had worked at a gas station, a drilling rig, and on a barge moving freight from Yellowknife, just to name a few. He started V.E. Brandel Oilfield Construction in 1961 when he bought his first D7 dozer and grew the company to 100 pieces of heavy-duty equipment. Vic served on our local Reform Party, Canadian Alliance, and Conservative Party boards, finishing as our Director Emeritus. Over the years, Vic became a good friend, often stopping by for a coffee to talk politics and current events. Vic was husband to his beloved Edith, dad to Kevin, Barry, and Ron, father-in-law to Marnie and Larissa, grandpa to Noah, Nikita, and Eva, and brother to Roger, Bob, and Jim. Thanks, Vic, for everything you have done for our riding, for our community, and for our country. You will be missed, Vic. Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to recognize Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Gurpurab, an important celebration for Sikh Canadians. Today marks the birth of the founder of Sikhism, a spiritual leader who continues to guide millions of Canadians across the world. Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught us that there is one creator and that all human beings are equal. He emphasized the importance of living with honesty, integrity, and a spirit of seva. He called on us to earn an honest living, Gert Karo, share what we have, Vand Shako, and remember the divine in all that we do, Nam Japo. Through these acts of faith and service, Sikhs reaffirm the core principles of Sikhism: devotion, humility, and compassion. We are reminded of our duty to serve humanity and respect the sacred gift of life that we are blessed with. As we honor this day, let us reflect on Guru Nanak Dev Ji's timeless message of inclusion, kindness, and service, values that continue to strengthen Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Leduc-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, for decades in Canada, Conservative and Liberal governments alike have been steadfast leaders in the global fight to end polio. Partners include Global Citizen, Results, and the Canadian Partnership for Women and Children's Health. But the undisputed leader in this mission is Rotary International, where there is no bigger champion than Canada's own Jennifer Jones, their first woman international president just a few years ago. Rotary's vision statement says, "Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves." Canadian Rotarians and Rotaractors live this out every single day. Whether building playgrounds and spray parks in their local communities or eradicating polio worldwide, these friends and neighbors stand shoulder to shoulder, roll up their sleeves, and just do the work. Today we are closer than ever to ending polio once and for all. Working together, we will win. And along the way, every one of us will be individually better for having taken part in the fight.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot-Acton. Mr. Speaker, today I would like to pay tribute to not one but two of my predecessors, both of whom, by pure coincidence, announced their retirement from professional life at about the same time. Yvan Loubier represented the riding of Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte from 1993 to 2007. He was the first ever Bloc Québécois MP in the region after the creation of the Bloc Québécois. He was widely regarded as an experienced and competent parliamentarian. After his departure, Ève-Marie Taille-Tillac took over in the 2007 by-election. She remained the Member of Parliament for the riding until 2011. She is known for her local involvement, her presence, and for being close to the people. I am very fortunate to personally know these two dedicated individuals who are also independentists with steadfast convictions. It is a true privilege to know them. Yvan and Ève-Marie, your retirement is well-deserved. Thank you for everything you've done for our region and for the country of Quebec. We will remember your contributions.
For Fleetwood Port Kells.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to address a matter of grave concern, public safety in Surrey. Residents are deeply worried about their safety and the security of their livelihood. 74 cases of extortion are currently under investigation. These are not just statistics, they are families, entrepreneurs, and neighborhoods living in fear. With Bill C-14, we have an opportunity and a responsibility to work together across all levels of government to restore safety, confidence, and peace of mind. I want the people of Fleetwood Port Kells to know that their voices are being heard, and our government remains firmly committed to ensuring justice and safety for all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Yellowhead.
Food Banks Canada has given this Liberal government an F when it comes to poverty and food security. With Canadians paying over $800 more for food this year than they did last, it's no wonder food banks usage has skyrocketed across the country. The hidden Liberal industrial carbon taxes on fertilizer and farm equipment, along with the so-called clean fuel standard, keep on increasing the cost of food for Canadians due to the need to transport all our food. This has become so unsustainable that more families are going hungry every day. This Liberal government decided to announce a deficit of $78 billion, which will continue to drive up the cost of food in Yellowhead and across the country. Every hour this budget adds $10 million to our national debt, which means $5,400 in inflationary spending per household. Imagine the impact of $5,400 would have on Canadian families. It's time for Liberals to scrap the hidden food taxes so Canadians decide how they want to spend their own money.
That's right. The honourable member for Milton East, Halton Hills South.
November is Women Abuse Prevention Month. 1 in 4 women in Canada report experiencing intimate partner violence in their lifetime, and alarmingly, those numbers continue to rise. In my community of Milton East, Halton Hills South, Halton Women's Place provides critical shelter, counselling, and support for women experiencing domestic violence. Last weekend, I joined their annual Hope in Every Step walk, an event that raises funds and sends a clear message of solidarity and hope to every woman seeking safety and support. It was deeply inspiring to see survivors, families, advocates, and volunteers, and many young men who came with their local sports teams. The Burlington Cougars, Iroquois Ridge Football, the Milton Menace, and the U15 jump basketball team, led by Milton's own Raheem the Dream Chaudhry, who has been walking in this event since he was just 7 years old. Their participation is a reminder that ending gender-based violence requires all of us to stand together, challenge harmful attitudes, and foster a culture of respect, equality, and safety.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, Private Member's Bill C-291 passed with unanimous support in the last Parliament to replace the term child pornography in our laws with what it really is, child sexual abuse and exploitation material. Right. Sexual abuse and exploitation of children are some of the most horrendous crimes, and viewing child sexual abuse and exploitation material represents re-victimization of victims traumatized for life. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that 2 men who had possession of hundreds of images and videos of children as young as 3 years old could not be imprisoned for a mandatory 1-year term. For the prolonged period these two possessed hundreds of images and videos produced by torturing innocent children. But the court applied imaginary scenarios rather than the facts in issuing this disgusting ruling. I urge the government to do the right thing, stand with children and victims of child sexual abuse and exploitation material, and invoke the notwithstanding clause.
Hear, hear! The honourable member for Pontiac, Kitigan,
222, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute
Where's question
to
period?
Private Basil alias Ojig of Maniwaki, son of William Ojig and Catherine Riel. He served with courage and dignity during the Second World War, giving his life to service to Canada on August 28, 1944, during the Battle of Normandy. His name is commemorated in the Second World War Book of Remembrance, alongside that of his brother, Private Robert Simon Ojig, who also made the ultimate sacrifice while serving the Royal Regiment of Canada. Mr. Speaker, today let's honor the sacrifice of the Ojig family and their bravery, and of all soldiers from Pontiac Kitigan Zibi who served and continue to serve for peace and freedom.
Questions? Come on.
honourable member for Medicine Hat, Cardston Warner.
Mr. Speaker, this fall my office surveyed Southern Alberta residents about their priorities and expectations for this federal budget. An overwhelming 76% of respondents indicated the cost of living is their top concern, and 80% of business owners said the rising costs were hurting their operations. Interestingly, 88% did not believe that Canada's economic situation would improve in the next year, and sadly, they're correct. The Prime Minister's spend less promise has been shattered with an $80 billion budget deficit this year alone, the highest ever in Canadian history outside of COVID. This year's interest on the national debt will be a staggering $55.6 billion, even more than our health transfers. This budget is adding $10 million to our debt every hour, which equals approximately $33,000 for every Canadian and climbing rapidly. The Liberals need to realize that every dollar they spend comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians. My voters are demanding the Liberals stop the reckless spending that's driving up the cost of everything.
Here, great. Here.
The honourable member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
Mr. Speaker, this week we are joined by over 80 outstanding educators from across Canada who are taking part in the Teachers Institute on Canadian parliamentary democracy, many of whom are here today. As a former educator, I know how deeply teachers shape the minds and values of the next generation. Though I now serve in this chamber, I will always see myself as a lifelong learner, a lesson taught to me by many dedicated colleagues over the years. I'm especially proud to recognize my former colleague Darcy Moore from Forest Heights Community School, who's one of the lead organizers for this incredible program. To the teachers here today and to those in classrooms from coast to coast to coast, thank you for the work you do each and every day that inspires, challenges, and empowers the next generation of Canadians. Mr. Speaker, to all the educators, welcome to Parliament Hill. Thank you for the difference you make in the lives of young Canadians every single day.
Bravo.
Come on, get the question period, man. At this point, we're not going to be finished question period until the freaking committees start. I've already missed the birthday.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Get him, Pierre, get him.
Jamais dans l'histoire.
Never in history has a budget ever forced Canadians to pay so much for so little. Every dollar that the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. He has broken his promises. He promised to spend less. He's spending $80 billion, $90 billion more net. That's $5,400 per family. He doubled the deficit of the Trudeau government, and he has added more debt than in any other year other than COVID years, Why is he doing this when Canadians cannot pay their bills? He's forcing them to pay even more. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canada is in a solid budgetary position. It is the second lowest deficit in the G7. It has the lowest net debt in the G7 and a budget that invests in Canada because we believe in Canada here. This Prime Minister is becoming the most expensive Prime Minister in the history of our country. In fact, it is bankers who are profiting, and Canadians will have to pay $55 billion on the interest of the national debt, and that is more than we are spending on health transfers, and it is more than the government gets from the GST. Every cent that Canadians pay in sales tax is not going to doctors and nurses, it's going to bankers. Why did the Prime Minister send healthcare money to bankers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the debt burden right now is lower than it was when the government was conservative, and that is true. It's lower than when the Conservative government was in power. Second, we are investing in Canada, and we are protecting healthcare transfers and money for education and for social programs sent to provinces.
Never before have Canadians had to spend so much to get so little. This budget, with its record deficit outside of COVID, is a deficit twice as the size of the one Trudeau left behind, and $16 billion bigger than the Prime Minister promised. It has, in this spending, $5,400 of extra costs for every family in more expensive government. While Canadians are already unable to eat, heat, and house themselves, why is this Prime Minister's costly budget making them pay even more?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this budget has 75% of the measures are for our sovereignty, to protect our borders, to protect our communities, to protect our way of life. And the balance is for affordability, a middle-class tax cut that the member opposite missed because he was not here. Mr. Speaker, this budget invests in Canada at twice the rate as any budget during this millennium. We believe in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It is twice as expensive as any other budget, and it makes generational debt. And speaking of sovereignty, what about food sovereignty, Mr. Speaker? The Prime Minister's budget increases taxes on food production, with the industrial carbon tax on farm equipment, fertilizer, storage bins, and food processing plants. Sylvain Charlebois, Canada's food professor, says that it is arguably the most damaging aspect of the Liberal carbon tax. It is a tax across the supply chain that undermines the competitiveness of our agri-food sector. Why is the Prime Minister threatening our food sovereignty and driving up our food prices?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in the spring, this government removed the divisive consumer carbon tax, and that has a consequence. That has a consequence for any business, any farm that emits less than 50 kilotons, which is every farm across this country. Mr. Speaker, the Canadian Climate Institute has done the analysis, and the impact of the industrial carbon tax on inflation is zero.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Apparently, the Prime Minister is still under the misconception that Canadians don't use steel. You remember that interview when he told CTV, he asked the CTV interviewer, "You don't use steel, do you, Steve?" Well, of course, farmers use steel in order to produce their food, in order to store their grains. Processors use steel in the apparatuses of their conveyor belts. the tax on fertilizer and equipment drives up the cost of food, not according to Conservatives, but according to Sylvain Charlebois. So is the Prime Minister going to tell Canadians that an industrial carbon tax on Canadian farmers is not driving up the price of...
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the impact of the industrial carbon tax on food prices in Canada is approximately zero.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Still thinks we use zero steel, Mr. Speaker. But on another subject, unfortunately a much darker subject. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that a 1-year prison sentence was too much for possession of child abuse and exploitation materials. That sentence was already far too low for the two dirtbags who had literally hundreds of impressions and videos of children being tortured. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing, invoke the notwithstanding clause in order to put the rights of children ahead of the rights of those who abuse them?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure I join all members of this House in condemning the exploitation of children as the most reprehensible source of crime. Mr. Speaker, that is why this government will be bringing forth legislation to combat these crimes, to penalize those who are responsible. That works within our Constitution.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, you are well known for your financial knowledge, and in theory, the Prime Minister is known for that too. But let's be serious. Let us not try to fool people. Let us ask the Prime Minister to ask why tax credits for oil companies, the organization of FIFA, or health transfers are assets for the government.
Why is that?
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, one of the most important aspects of the budget is the tax credits for investment into clean electricity. That represents $4 billion for Quebec for investments there. That is one of the main reasons to support this budget. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. I don't expect the Prime Minister to want to answer my question. A tax credit. You are paying money to someone who gets the benefit of that credit. It comes out of government coffers. You cannot say that it is an investment, the value of which you are keeping with on your asset sheet. Does the Prime Minister think that accountants are idiots and that Canadians are idiots as well? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to underline that Hydro-Quebec will be one of the biggest beneficiaries of this budget, and the environment will be the other big beneficiary. With it, when it comes to carbon capture, the truth is that right now, Quebec is using 350,000 barrels of oil a day. So carbon has to be captured for the production and transport of those barrels. The member for Belleuil-Chambly. It seems that there's embarrassment in the air, Mr. Speaker. So that's wonderful if money is going into good projects, and yes, this has been decided that it is good, but it is an expenditure. It's really the Prime Minister must recognize that his budget is an austerity budget so that he can fund oil companies at Quebec's expense. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this budget is an investment budget. It's a budget for generational investment. The pace of investment is twice as quick, and this budget is going to stimulate $1 trillion worth of investment by the end of the decade. It's a growth budget for Quebec, for Canada.
In addition to cooking the books, the Prime Minister also rigged his GST rebate on housing to make sure that 95% of home buyers would not qualify for any break at all. Zero, zip, zilch. And the Prime Minister, meanwhile, puts a new rising tax on steel, aluminum, glass, cement, concrete, all the things that go into making a home. In other words, the industrial carbon tax is a housing tax. With Liberals already having doubled housing costs, will the Prime Minister axe the industrial carbon tax so Canadians can afford a home?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, once again, the Leader persists and doubles down on these fake imaginary taxes that exist only in his head and on the talking points that he hands out. What I will tell you is this is a budget where conservative-minded voters, people who think of voting conservative in elections, you know what they like about it? They like the hope. They like the ambition. They like the economic growth. They like bringing this country together from coast to coast to coast to invest in our potential, to invest in our young people, and to grow this country to be the best in the G7, Mr. Speaker. That's what they like.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he says it's imaginary, but it's in his budget. Does that mean the budget is a fictional document? Here it is on page 106, strengthening the industrial.
Oh, it's going to be considered a prop? Why? He's reading from it. It's not a prop.
The honourable member may continue now that the prop has been put away.
Mr. Speaker, they say their budget is a prop and its contents are imaginary. We're in real trouble. Homes take steel, they take aluminum, they take concrete and cement and glass. The industrial carbon tax drives all those things up. With our youth unable to afford homes, why don't they get rid of this tax so that we can bring down the cost of housing?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, you know what this budget does? It builds communities. It builds opportunities for young people in our communities. It ties this country together in a common refrain of hope and optimism and investing in ourselves. We're going to be investing in new homes. We're going to be investing in housing for young people. We're going to build it with that Canadian steel. We're going to build it with that Canadian lumber. We're going to build it with that best thing that we have, that Canadian ingenuity that exists in the youngest and the oldest, the skilled tradespeople of this country. We are going to build Canada. Conservatives like that, Liberals like that. Let's build the country together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After the Prime Minister's depressing speech demanding young people make more sacrifices, I think the Liberal House Leader asked ChatGPT to write him up a little poem about how he could inject hope into his message. It didn't work, Mr. Speaker. Young people need houses for them to have hope. Houses are needed to raise families. Houses are needed to build equity and collateral and credit history. But the Prime Minister insists on applying an escalating industrial carbon tax that will raise the cost of everything that goes into making a home. So with the Liberals doubling housing costs already, why won't they get rid of this tax?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know housing is top of mind for young Canadians, and we have heard them loud and clear. Budget 2025 delivers on affordable housing for young Canadians. It focuses on affordable housing and co-ops. It delivers on GST for first-time homebuyers, up to 47,000 homes that will see a big reduction in GST. Building all of these homes creates jobs for young people in the trades, great jobs for young Canadians. This budget delivers affordability for young Canadians.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government has doubled lineups at food banks to well over 2 million people. And right now, food prices are rising 40% faster in Canada than they are in the United States, which means it can't be some global or foreign factor on which we blame those rising costs. But Sylvain Charlebois, Canada's leading food price expert, says the industrial carbon tax, which is not only still in place but is rising quickly in this costly budget, is partly to blame. So single mothers, small businesses, and seniors can feed themselves while they get rid of this terrible tax on food.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
As a former single mother myself, I can tell you the kinds of things that single mothers, in fact families, are looking for is affordability. That's in this budget. Whether it's a middle-class tax cut for 22 million Canadians, whether it's protecting $10 a day childcare, by the way, a game changer for women, especially single mothers, but whether it's making the school food program permanent, whether it's investing in building trades, the kinds of infrastructure investments that will lead to good-paying jobs. We're here for young people, Canadians. Young Canadians.
The Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, since they started promising that program, the number of children lined up at food banks has doubled to 700,000. And food prices are actually rising 40% faster in Canada than they are in the United States of America. The questions I've been asking are to the Prime Minister. Apparently he doesn't have time to answer questions about homes and food when Canadians cannot afford to feed and lodge themselves. So once again, will the Prime Minister get rid of his regressive industrial carbon tax on Canadian foods so that single mums and seniors can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians don't have time for the kind of antics that the Conservative Party performs every single day. What Canadians want is investment in their families, investment in their children, investment in the kinds of infrastructure in small communities all across this country, including in my riding, that are going to make life affordable, that are going to build up the kind of infrastructure that allows for us to get ahead. And Mr. Speaker, lots of Conservatives feel that way in my riding. They told me so, and they've donated.
The Honourable Member for Wellington Halton Hills North.
Mr. Speaker, the last Liberal budget had a fiscal anchor of deficits of less than 1% of GDP. This budget doubles those deficits, averaging 2% of GDP. The last Liberal budget had a fiscal anchor of declining debt to GDP. This budget increases debt to GDP. Will the government admit that its fiscal anchor is weaker than the previous Trudeau governments?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Speaker, I know they're having a bad week over there, but yesterday we tabled an historic budget to build our economy for Canadians, by Canadians, so we will never be reliant on one country again. We will spend less on wasteful spending so we can invest in our country and build our country, our economy, into the strongest economy in the G7. Mr. Speaker, from Canadians from coast to coast to coast support our budget. It's time for us to come together in this House like Canada. Time for the party opposite to support our budget.
The Honourable Member for Wellington Halton Hills North.
Mr. Speaker, last July, bond rating agency Fitch warned that a material rise in the debt to GDP and a material rise in our deficits could lead to a credit downgrade. This budget doubles deficits and leads to ever-increasing debt to GDP. Will the government acknowledge that it is putting this country's credit rating at risk, not only to mention that it's saddling younger Canadians with a mountain of national debt?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, Speaking of young Canadians are looking at this budget for generational opportunities. We are unlocking new markets for them. Budget 2025, we're getting young Canadians, young entrepreneurs ready to get export ready through our SMA readiness program. Secondly, once they're export ready, we will launch the Can Export program to support them attend trade shows globally to showcase their goods. And once they have orders ready to go out, EDC will step in to support them to get into new markets around the world. This is how we're helping young Canadians and young entrepreneurs access new markets and create jobs here at home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, there's been a lot of talk about a generational deficit of $78 billion in the budget, and it's true. What are the main points of this budget? The defense is the main priority, and the end to the struggle against climate change is done. There's even more credits for oil companies. These are all choices that Stephen Harper would have made because they are conservative choices. It's so conservative, in fact, that a conservative member became Liberal. So we have a Liberal deficit with conservative priorities, and through it all, why is there nothing for the priorities of Quebecers? The Honourable Member of Industry, the Minister of Industry. I know my colleague very well, and I know his riding very well, and there's something that is clear, and that is in his riding, when you talk about expenditures and on defense, that has an impact in Mirabel, that has an impact at CAE, and for Airbus, for Pedro Dextron as well, it's going to have an impact on thousands of jobs in Mirabel. And my colleague right now is saying that this budget is not delivering anything for Quebec and for Mirabel. I think maybe he's disconnected from reality. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, a deficit of $78 billion will have impact on the coming generations in my riding. But there's worse than that. The Liberals are creating this deficit, and they're announcing cuts to health transfers, and they're not investing anything for seniors. And they're refusing a preferential rate for the first-time home buyers, and they're replacing the only housing building program that works in Quebec by Build Homes Canada, which is going to slow everything down, Mr. Speaker. How is it possible to create a deficit of $78 billion and by giving up on all of Quebecers' needs? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, we were asked to invest more to build hospitals. We said, what did we say? Yes, excellent idea. We'll put it in the budget. And you can read, he could read the pages in the budget and you'd see it there in black and white. Quebecers said, we want you to protect our language and culture. We want you to invest in that because it's important to us. The Minister of Finance and the Minister of Culture, Quebec and Canadian Culture, promised to invest more than ever in art and cultures. So when did you vote for this member?
Mr. Speaker, in 2015, 6 cents of every dollar was used to pay interest on the national debt. Yesterday's budget confirms that that number will more than double to 13 cents of every dollar. Wow. That's almost $76 billion going to bankers and bondholders to pay interest on the national debt. That's even more than the government will receive from taxing and GST. This, when the finance minister says he's making generational investments, is he just saddling the next generation with his unaffordable budget?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite simply is overlooking that Canada has a AAA credit rating, the lowest net debt to GDP ratio in the G7, has been world acclaimed in terms of a home for direct foreign investment, top of the G20 there, Mr. Speaker. The difference between that side of the House and this side of the House is that we believe in Canada. We believe in Canadians. We're diversifying supply chains and we're investing in our population so that we become the strongest economy in the G7. We ask them to join us.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe North.
Speaker, the difference is that that every Liberal finance minister seems to keep breaking their fiscal promises. They said the deficits would be low and temporary. They were long and very large. They said the deficit would be capped. They said the debt to GDP ratio would continue going down. The ratio went up and the deficits blew through the cap. Now we have a new finance minister with a new, weaker fiscal anchor. Will the finance minister confirm that this anchor is weaker, and how long before he breaks his promise too?
How long? The Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we are a nation of builders. We're building it for young people. We have the best net to GDP ratio in the G7. We are building affordable homes. We're investing in trades and hospitals. We're creating 100,000 new summer jobs. We are investing in entrepreneurs. Why, Mr. Speaker? This is a budget of resilience. This is a budget of strength. This is a budget of hope. Why don't the Conservatives join us and build Canada strong?
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister just delivered one of the most expensive budgets in Canadian history. He promised fiscal responsibility during the last election, but Canadians got a staggering $80 billion deficit instead. That's $80 billion in new debt that will drive up the cost of food, housing, and everything that Canadians buy. After hearing all this talk about change, Canadians are left wondering one thing. How is this Prime Minister's out-of-control spending any different than Justin Trudeau's?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Canadians across this country empowered us in the last election, and now we're empowering them in Budget 2025. A budget that will make generational investments to create the strongest economy in the G7. That's exactly what we're doing. We're building major infrastructure, homes and industries. We're protecting our communities, borders and way of life. And we're empowering Canadians with better careers, strong public services and more affordable life. We know a strong country can be even stronger, but it takes vision and leadership. It's too bad the Conservatives have neither.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister isn't investing. He's spending on the backs of future generations. In fact, because of his reckless spending spree, Canadians will be paying over $55 billion a year in interest alone to service the debt. That's more money spent on interest payments than on health care transfers to help patients. Does the Prime Minister realize that his spending is lining the pockets of his banker and bondholder friends instead of funding our doctors and nurses?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister doesn't only have a vision for what this country is now, but what it is going to be. That's why he has assigned multiple ministries to work on transforming healthcare in those critical spaces in the north, spaces that always lacked investment on this side of the House, spaces that never seen the light of day with having support on this side of the House. We're inviting them to finally come into those spaces, support Indigenous people with those critical services. It is something that we know all voters are asking for.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lot-Binière. A costly budget that will make life even more costly for Canadian families. With the budget he tabled yesterday, the Prime Minister will go down in history as the biggest spender in Canadian history. Almost $80 billion in deficits. He promised to spend less, but he's spending $90 billion more. That's $5,400 per family, Mr. Speaker. And you know what? All that money comes straight out of Canadians' pockets. Why has the Prime Minister chosen to drive up the cost of food even further with the most inflationary budget in our history? The Honourable Minister. Canada has a AAA credit rating and the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7. That's our fiscal position. But what's in the budget? We're doubling housing. We're investing in infrastructure. We're raising the salaries of our CAF members higher. It's unprecedented. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. That's what's in the budget, Mr. Speaker, and I'm proud of it.
The honourable member for Halifax.
Speaker, my riding of Halifax is home to a thriving defence sector with more than 10,000 Canadian Armed Forces members. I know that many of my constituents, including those in uniform, watched yesterday as the Minister of Finance tabled Budget 2025. Can the Minister of National Defence speak to the new defence investments Canada is making?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, through Budget 2025, we're investing over $81 billion over the next 5 years to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in our Canadian Armed Forces. This is a generational investment in defence infrastructure, in capabilities, in training, and of course, in our incredible personnel. From Halifax to Latvia, Mr. Speaker, when the brave men and women of the CAF answer the call to serve, they know we've got their backs, and they know it's time to build Canada strong.
The honourable member for Newtecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Costly budget of broken promises is a disastrous attempt to put out the fire they started. Not only is the Prime Minister fueling inflation with the largest regular budget deficit in Canadian history, he's also hiking up the industrial carbon tax, driving up food prices. Families are already struggling to afford food, housing, and everything else. So why does this Prime Minister want to raise the industrial carbon tax and make life even harder for Canadians?
Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, we're creating opportunities for Canadians. Budget 2025 is about building Canada, creating opportunities for young people. We're building St. John's strong, Etobicoke strong, Vancouver strong, Halifax strong, Fredericton strong, Winnipeg strong, Bradford strong, Mr. Speaker, city by city, community by community, for our young people, for Mr. Speaker, city by city, community by community, for our young people, for Canadians. Through Budget 2025, we're building roads, bridges, hospitals, water systems, community centres, homes that Canadians need, major projects in the national interest, Mr. Speaker. We're doing it with Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, and Canadian union workers at
The honourable member for Newtecumseh-Gwillimbury.
In this mess because of 10 years of Liberal deficits and taxes. Now this costly budget will make things worse by adding $10 million to our debt every hour. It's like cranking up the furnace and leaving the windows open, Mr. Speaker. Canada is the only G7 country where food inflation has gone up 4 months in a row. And by increasing the industrial carbon tax and driving up inflation, this budget will only raise prices higher. Why is this Prime Minister so intent on making life unaffordable for Canadian families?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development. Thank you very much, Mr.
Speaker. I ask the Conservatives to join the rest of the country and love our country. I love Canada, Mr. Speaker. They always seem to call Canada down. On this side of the Assembly, we are marketing Canada, something you guys should do. On this side of the aisle, we are defending Canada, Mr. Speaker, something that you guys should do as well. At the end of the day, we're building, you're tearing down Canada. Shame on you. Let's get on the same page. Canadians deserve that, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister's costly budget is full of broken promises and is the most expensive in Canadian history. It has the largest deficit in history outside of COVID. It will drive up the cost of food, housing, and everything else that Canadians buy. Liberals had a chance to lower food costs for Canadians, but they chose to make food more expensive by increasing the industrial carbon tax, driving the cost of fertilizer and farm equipment. Why is this Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
They will be voting against food in schools for children, voting against an income tax cut for Canadians, voting against $75 million in apprenticeship training, voting against a refundable tax credit for personal support workers, voting against $45 million in funding to address violence against women, and voting against crucial supports for seniors like old age security. Canadians want to know, who are these Conservatives fighting for? Because it certainly isn't them.
The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
We're going to be voting against adding an additional $300 billion in debt for our future generations. Once said the food wholesale prices have increased in Canada versus the US, and that the one factor driving this is the industrial carbon tax. He also said that he's deeply concerned and expects that food inflation will continue to be a problem moving forward. Experts are warning that food prices will continue skyrocketing. So I ask again, Mr. Speaker, why is this Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive for all Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our budget delivers historic investments to build Canada strong. This means strong families and strong communities from coast to coast to coast. That includes supports for youth in building skills to help them find and access high-paying careers. We are investing in training and supports for 20,000 youth facing employment barriers. We are investing in an additional 24,000 Canada Summer Jobs opportunities this coming year, co-ops, internships, apprenticeship opportunities for over 55,000 post-secondary students. Canada's new government has a plan to invest in youth. I encourage members opposite to support this plan and to vote for the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday Canadians got a taste of one of the greatest sins a government can commit: overpromise and under-deliver.
That's right.
The Prime Minister promised a generational and transformational budget crafted by the so-called master of monetary policy. Instead of reducing the deficit and showing fiscal discipline, he produced one of the costliest budget deficits in our nation's history. Rather than providing relief to Canadians by reducing the industrial carbon tax, he chose to increase it. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister raising the industrial carbon tax and making food even more expensive for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Crown Indigenous Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This budget is about focusing on youth. Our government is investing in youth, particularly Indigenous youth. Investments like in Inuit Nunagat University. It'll be a landmark step forward for education and reconciliation in Canada. It'll strengthen local economies, build capacity in the north, and support Inuit-led research. We hope the members opposite will support this initiative and vote for the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, food professor, has quoted, "That's been our concern from day one. The gap between wholesale prices in Canada versus the U.S. food wholesale prices have actually increased, and we believe that one factor driving this is the carbon tax. It doesn't take a central banker to figure out that eliminating the industrial carbon tax will help lower food prices. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister choosing to raise the industrial carbon tax when so many Canadians can barely afford groceries?"
Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Canadian Climate Institute most recent research shows industrial carbon pricing have essentially no cost on groceries. In the face of uncertainty, Canadians are going to build the future we want to build for ourselves. As we work for build the strongest economy in the G7, Mr. Speaker, our new government is helping our agriculture, fish, and seafood sectors adapt and respond to the economic challenges. This includes a new trade diversification strategy and $75 million of agri-marketing. I suggest they dig out their red and white sweaters and get them on and get on the bus.
The Honourable Member for Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore.
Mr. Speaker, this budget proves one thing. The Liberals don't understand how real Canadians live. Every dollar this government spends comes straight out of Canadians' pockets, and under this Prime Minister, everything costs more. After years of inflation and higher taxes, they've chosen to raise the industrial carbon tax. That means higher prices at the checkout line. Why is this Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
Good question. The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, when we invest in unions in Windsor, we all win. Mr. Speaker, and we are empowering unions. We're empowering unions in Windsor. We're empowering unions across the country to train our young people, because in Budget 2025, we invested that we're meeting our campaign commitment to double the Union Training Innovation Program, $75 million to help young people train to build Canada with Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, and Canadian unionized workers, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have tabled the most expensive budget with the biggest deficit in the country's history outside of the pandemic. This cost of this Liberal budget will drive up the price of food, and it's an irresponsible attack on our food security. Meanwhile, over 2 million Canadians are using food banks, and that will skyrocket with a deficit of nearly $80 billion. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister stop waging war on farmers and finally come up with a real plan to lower food prices? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I have to admit I'm a bit surprised by the question from the member from the Conservative Party, because when she was a member of the Liberal Party in Quebec City, she voted in favour of putting a price on carbon. And so she'll be very relieved to learn that the industrial carbon price doesn't apply in Quebec, because Quebec has its own system. So it's just hypocrisy coming from the other side of the House. The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. While Canadians tighten their belts, this government keeps on spending recklessly. They've just added $90 billion in spending, or $5,400 per household. That's less money. This is going to affect people in Charlevoix. According to Sylvain Charlebois, the gap between wholesale food prices in Canada and the U.S. has grown, and the carbon tax is a major factor. Canada is the only G7 country to have had 4 consecutive months of rising food inflation. Why is the Prime Minister raising the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive for everyone? The Honourable Minister. I'll repeat what the Prime Minister said so that about the impact of the industrial carbon tax on food prices. It's virtually zero. And my colleague talked about Conservative hypocrisy when it comes to food security. This is just another one of their inconsistencies. When she was in Quebec City, they did put a price on carbon, and it didn't stop there. Every day they vote against our initiatives to help families, whether it's food school programs, the child tax benefit, and so we will do without any lessons from the other side. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Canadians rely on strong and reliable infrastructure every day, from safe roads and bridges to clean drinking water and modern public facilities. They expect the government to build, protect, and strengthen communities through historic investments. Can the Minister inform the House of the generational infrastructure investment planned in Budget 2025? The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for that question. Canadians need strong, resilient communities supported by reliable infrastructure. Budget 2025 launches the Building Strong Communities Fund, a historic $51 billion investment to deliver modern infrastructure, enable new housing development, and strengthen communities across the country. Together with our partners, we will deliver the infrastructure Canadians rely on every day.
The Supreme Court has ruled that a mere 1-year mandatory prison sentence for the heinous crime of possessing child sexual abuse and exploitation material is cruel and unusual punishment. The criminals in this case possess materials depicting evil acts against children as young as 3 years old. Conservatives believe it is outrageous that these types of child predators could walk free with less than a year in prison. This court decision must be overturned using the notwithstanding clause, but the Liberals have refused to act. Why are they more concerned with protecting the rights of these vile predators than the rights of these innocent victims?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr.
Speaker, let me be unequivocal. Child abusers are heinous criminals and should be treated as such by Canada's criminal laws. We will be moving forward with legislative solutions that will give clear directions to the courts to ensure that serious crimes are met with serious penalties. If the Conservatives want not only to ask questions in the House but actually achieve progress on this file, they can stop the obstruction on the Strong Borders Act, which is meant to give powers to law enforcement to actually stop child abuse that we know is happening. It's one thing to talk in the House, it's another thing to cast a vote in a way that will make a difference. I invite them to join the cause.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Criminals who possess child sexual abuse and exploitation material deserve lengthy prison sentences. They cause unimaginable suffering and harm to innocent children. These precious kids will carry the scars of what was done to them for the rest of their lives. Conservatives and Canadians are calling on the government to invoke the notwithstanding clause and overturn this appalling Supreme Court ruling immediately. The Liberals refuse to do so. Why are the Liberals more concerned with protecting the rights of guilty pedophiles than standing up for the rights of innocent children?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we're going to be bringing forth legislation that is going to address this particular issue. But I would like to ask why the Conservatives have been against every measure that we have put forward to protect our children, Mr. Speaker. We brought an online harms legislation. They voted against it. We brought lawful access tools for law enforcement. They are against it. Mr. Speaker, why are they protecting child abusers?
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Two men pleaded guilty to having hundreds of images of innocent children. They were sexually abused, they were exploited, they were tortured. The Supreme Court made a decision that a 1-year jail sentence was too harsh. Conservatives vehemently disagree with this decision. The Liberals have an opportunity to use the notwithstanding clause and take a stand for innocent children. Why is this government concerned with protecting the rights of pedophiles instead of standing up for those children?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, I have been speaking to lots of families that have been victims of crime.
That's right.
And Mr. Speaker, many have been asking for online harms legislation. We brought legislation like that in this House. And that member, Mr. Speaker, was active in voting against it and made sure that that didn't pass in this House. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, law enforcement is also asking for tools to catch predators. But the Conservatives, guess what, are against it, Mr. Speaker. So why are they so concerned about the privacy rights of criminals instead of protecting our children?
Okay, colleagues, order. The honourable member for Peterborough.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected us to build, protect and empower. In the North, that means reliable partnerships first and results people can trust. We have listened at kitchen tables across the North, and Budget 2025 reflects their voices. Could the minister share how this budget delivers with Indigenous...
Sorry, but a member is asking a question, and there are multiple other exchanges happening across the floor. I don't know. I couldn't identify the voices, but there were many voices. It's okay. It's okay. I understand. Okay.
From the top, it was their side that interrupted.
It was both ends. Okay, we're going to start from the top. The honourable member for Peterborough.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected us to build, protect and empower. In the North, that means reliable partnerships and results people can trust. We have listened to kitchen tables across the North, and Budget 2025 reflects their voices. Could the minister share how this budget delivers with Indigenous partners so communities see results where they live, and how this approach makes the North a driver of Canada's prosperity and a pillar of our sovereignty?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, Northerners asked for transformative change, and our new government answered with generational plans to build, protect, and empower. This means skills, homes, and hope for Northern youth. Our budget delivers year-round routes and ports across the Arctic Corridor and the Churchill Gateway to keep Canada strong and free.
Hear, hear.
Through Major Projects Office, projects will move faster with Indigenous partnership. So this means building with the North for the North.
Hear, 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 hear.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Liberals tabled a budget with a deficit of nearly $80 billion. Did you hear that right? Nearly $80 billion. That's huge. And the impact will be catastrophic. It's just the same old, same old. And what's more, the Liberals had the chance to reduce the cost of food by scrapping the industrial carbon tax. But what did they do instead? They increased it. Nearly $80 billion taken out of Canadian pockets, and nothing to counter food inflation. Can this Prime Minister stop breaking his promises and finally control his inflationary spending? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My mother knows the difference between an investment and an expense. My kids get the difference. And this budget is an investment in our Canadian youth, in our own resources, so that we can get through this crisis. Canadians elected us to do that, and we will do it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A lot of Canadians don't seem to know that between the day a budget is tabled and when it's voted on, the government can make changes. I desperately hope and that the answer will be yes to this question. Is the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance prepared to be flexible, work in a spirit for the national interest, and be prepared to make changes in this budget before it comes to a vote?
Good question.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, of course we are always listening to Canadians. What I would stress to the honourable member is that this is a budget that invests historically in climate competitiveness in this country, in getting Canada to net zero by 2050, and making sure that Canada remains a leader in the worldwide fight against climate change. I would invite her to compare us to any country around the world, especially our neighbours to the south. Put this in perspective and understand, and as I know she will, that this is an historic effort on an historic issue, and it's an historic budget, Mr. Speaker.
Et cela met fin à la période des questions.
And that puts an end to question period.
Comme il est.
It being 3:17, the House will now proceed to the taking of a deferred recorded division on the motion at the third reading stage of Bill C3. Call in the members.
Okay. What do we got? We got an hour and 12 minutes until committee. We've got a little bit of a break. I've put the link in chat a few times, but let me put it in chat again. We've got the Finance Committee. We've got the Bank of Canada Governor coming in. And obviously just after a budget being tabled, it's a fiscal budget and his is monetary, but there's going to be some questions in regards to how he feels in retrospect to the Canadian economy, because he can't comment on things like that. So I'll go ahead and put the link in chat again. There we go. I will see you guys in an hour. Let's take a break. Yeah, I was oddly enough, I'm surprised no Liberals didn't mention the floor crossing. I thought that was going to be more of a ammo for them, but I guess not. Typical debate on the budget that was kind of anticipated. So, yeah, we'll take a break, and I'll see you guys shortly. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And if you don't want to come with us to the committee, like I say, we're always live 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for question period, so we'll be live again tomorrow. There's the link again, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers, guys.